I think it is totally realistic, the fact that in such an emergency, we need the comprehension and the action from European Union. The emergency is caused by the fact that in 2 months we had several quakes in the same area. By the way, this is creating a very, very difficult situation with the population in one of the best areas of our country. So yes, we will rebuild it, and we count on solidarity in Europe, and not only in Europe.
The Italian Prime Minister was in Washington just a couple of weeks ago for what was a state visit with the American president. The White House notes that everyone was on board with helping the Iraqis caught up in the battle for Mosul. How is that commitment from Italy translating into action?
We are very committed in Iraq. I think that everybody should know that the Italian military presence is the second after US in Iraq. We have 1,300 military people. What are they doing? They are training Peshmerga, giving arms to Peshmerga, protecting the activity of rebuilding of the dam of Mosul. They are doing combat search and rescue operation with helicopters, and they are assuring police training in the liberated areas. I understand that this particular function that is now in the region of Anbar, around Ramadi and Fallujah, will become strategic in Mosul when Mosul will be liberated.
We are all acutely aware of how bad things are in neighbouring Syria. Nowhere is that more the case than in eastern rebel-held Aleppo. Yet in just the last week or so, you have moved to block sanctions on both Moscow and Damascus. Why?
Because Italy and several other countries are convinced that we are facing an extremely serious emergency in East Aleppo. The way to tackle with this emergency is obviously to be very clear on the responsibility of Russia, and at the same time, as US administration is trying to do, to engage Russia in a possible solution. So I really do hope that this solution that depends on the possibility to separate the fighters of Nusra from the other fighters, and at the same time to block air operation. I hope that this agreement could run. If Europe reacts to every crisis with sanctions, I think that we will, at the end of the day, only increase European division.
Let's talk Libya. Not far from Italy, of course, just across the Med. The political system is clearly not working. The UN and the Europeans, and I know you in Italy might suggest that the GNA is working there, but it isn't. What are your plans to help? And should the GNA fall apart, who would you support going forward?
I don't think, actually, that the GNA will fall apart. What we discussed this morning, I think it is important. We discussed a way to give the GNA more strength, especially on the financial and economic side, because some of the recent through an agreement between the Presidential Council and the Libyan Central Bank. We met the Prime Minister Serraj and the Governor of the Central Bank, Al-Kabir, and I think that our meeting was a turning point to solve the difficulties between them. This will put more liquidity in the Libyan situation and in the hands of the GNA.